earlier topics, you have learned about the cell. The plant cell, as you know, has a tough cell wall made of cellulose. Cellulose is a polysaccharide made of several glucose molecules. The herbivorous animals eat plant food. They need organs or mechanisms in their digestive system which can digest cellulose. The cellulose is broken down into simple glucose molecules by an enzyme called cellulase. Can you eat grass and digest it? No. Our digestive system does not produce cellulase. For that matter, it is not produced in most animals. Only some bacteria and some protozoan flagellate produce cellulase. Some herbivorous animals use these bacteria or protozoans to digest cellulose. The teeth of these animals are also modified. They have no canines. The incisors are well developed and the molars and premolars are flat. These teeth are very useful in mastication or chewing of food. You must have seen a cow or a buffalo eating grass. These animals swallow grass without chewing. After swallowing good amount of grass, they sit. During this time of rest, they bring back the food from the digestive canal to the mouth and chew it leisurely. This process is called rumination, and these animals are referred as ruminants. The food is completely chewed and is mixed with saliva. Let us look at the digestive system. We find that it is different from other animals. The stomach is the organ to be watched. It is large and has 4 chambers. They are rumen, reticulum, omasum and abomasum. Food route. Food to mouth, to rumen, to mouth, to chewing, to rumen, to reticulum, to omasum, to abomasum, to intestine, to the colon, to anus. Structure and digestion. The rumen is the largest chamber and cellulase is produced here by a large number of microorganisms. Food that is swallowed enters the rumen and it is partially digested into a paste called cud. The partially digested food is brought back to the mouth, mixed with large amount of saliva and chewed thoroughly. This food again enters the rumen and digestion continues for some time. Cellulase and other enzymes act on cellulose here. The food is now sent to the second chamber, the reticulum. Enzymes produced by bacteria continue digestion in reticulum. The food is almost digested here. The fully digested food along with bacteria now enters the third chamber, the omasum. Internally, omasum is thrown into a number of folds to increase the absorptive area. Absorption of the digested food begins in this chamber where the water and bicarbonate present in the food is absorbed. The food now becomes concentrated and is sent into the fourth chamber, the abomasum. This chamber is considered as the true stomach as the glands in abomasum secrete acid. This acid kills bacteria and denatures, that is, destroys the structure of proteins. The proteins are digested by the enzymes secreted in this chamber. The food containing the products of digestion enters the intestines. In the intestines, all the nutrients are absorbed. it is not only digestion but also the products of digestion and their absorption which are different in ruminants. Glucose formed by the digestion of cellulose is fermented by microorganisms into two fatty acids. The fatty acids are propionic and butyric acids. Glucose is thus not supplied to the cells of ruminants. The bacteria obtain energy for their vital activities during fermentation. Saliva contains bicarbonate. Bicarbonate neutralizes the acid and produces large amounts of carbon dioxide. The microorganisms use amino acids to produce proteins. The amino acids are used by microorganisms and not by the animal. The animal uses the proteins produced by the microorganisms and not the proteins in the food. From where does the animal get proteins? When microorganisms enter abomasum, along with food, they are killed by the acid in abomasum. The animal absorbs the proteins present in the microorganisms and not that present in the food. Animal produces energy from the fatty acids. During the process of digestion, gases like hydrogen, methane and carbon dioxide are produced. These gases are expelled from the mouth. Symbiotic relationship. There is a symbiotic relationship between the ruminants and microorganisms. The animal supplies cellulose for microorganisms to obtain energy. The fatty acids produced by microorganisms are used by the ruminant for energy production. Animal supplies proteins to microorganisms. The microorganism in turn uses the amino acids to produce proteins. The proteins produced by the microorganisms are used by the ruminant. Thus, the microorganism and the animal are benefited in a symbiotic relationship. Rabbit is herbivorous and eats grass. It cannot digest cellulose. The fecal matter released by the rabbit contains partially digested cellulose. This fecal matter is again consumed by the rabbit. This phenomenon is termed as caprophagy. Thus, two types of fecal matter are produced by the rabbit. We should note that the appendix in rabbits is useful in digesting cellulose. In man, cellulose cannot be digested. However, it increases the weight of food for it to move smoothly in the intestine. Dear students, now you know why we cannot digest food rich in cellulose. In the next topic, we shall study in detail the digestive system of man.